All right, I picked all 272 NFL regular season games. I'm breaking down all 32 teams. Let's do the AFC South today. Let's hop right on into it. Okay, the Tennessee Titans kicking us off today. 30-14 last season, the number one overall pick. But they spend it on Cam Ward, a massive upgrade at the quarterback position for this team. And they really kind of attacked a lot of needs. They go after the offensive line. They get Kevin Zeitler from Detroit. They add Dan Moore at tackle. I mean, they add safety Xavier Woods, wide receiver Tyler Lockett. And I've really, really liked what I've seen from Cam Ward in the preseason. The reports are he's a grinder. He gets out there at 5 a.m. meetings. He's working with everybody. And I think we're going to see a very, very big jump for this Titans team, which had a pretty good defense last year. Maybe the results weren't there, but they were great in yards given up. The offense was just so historically bad with the special teams, just turnovers, bad plays, scooping scores. It was just really, really tough for that defense, and they kind of fell apart down the stretch. Now, they did lose some defensive pieces. They lost Kenneth Murray and Harold Landry, as well as wide receiver Nick Westbrook-Akine, who had a pretty good stretch there catching touchdowns last year, but you still have Calvin Ridley, favorite target for Cam Ward. That's all Cam Ward's talking about, how good he has a relationship with Calvin Ridley. Tony Pollard's back, who had a really underrated season last year. I thought Tony Pollard had a really nice bounce back year last year from his struggles in Dallas. So overall, I'm pretty optimistic on this Titans team. Not the strongest division in the world and not the worst schedule, really. But ultimately, I'm not sure how I feel about Brian Callahan as the head coach for this Titans team. They're going to be better upgraded with good quarterback play, but Cam Ward is still a rookie. He's going to have some up and downs there. He's not 50 years old like Jayden Daniels was coming into the season last year, or Bo Nix, or Michael Penix. So still a little bit of growing pains I think we're going to see for Tennessee. I got the Titans going 6-11, so doubling their wins from last year, and they're going to be a feisty team. I think they're going to be in a lot more games this year, and it's just not going to be a pain. It's just not going to be a disaster to watch for Titans fans. I think Cam Ward's going to be a franchise quarterback for this team. Is he an upper tier echelon guy? Probably not, but he's going to be in that 10-8 range. Absolutely, I think he can be. So Titans doubling their win total at 6-11, and maybe moving on from head coach Brian Callahan. I'm just not completely sold on him. So Titans, pretty solid season overall. And did you know most of my viewers not subscribed yet, guys? And most of my viewers are brand new viewers, so welcome to the channel. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Really helps the channel out a lot. Okay, the Indianapolis Colts, another kind of Colts-ass season at 8-9 last year. And this team has just been in a death spiral, it feels like, since Andrew Luck retired. And Chris Ballard's got to stop getting, these free passes. He's been horrendous with his moves at quarterback, and ultimately the Anthony Richardson experience has seemed to fail. He needed time and they didn't give it to him. They add safety Cam Bynum and DB Charvarius Ward, but most importantly, they bring in quarterback Daniel Jones, who has been named the starter for this Colts team. And God, Daniel Jones has looked really bad in the offseason. Like, the preseason has not been good for Danny Dimes. They do add tight end Tyler Warren, who I think is going to be a massive upgrade at the tight end position. You still have Jonathan Taylor. The wide receiver position is kind of all over the place. I just don't know what this offense is going to look like. I don't know how we're going to rely on them. And the offensive line isn't quite as good as it was last year. They're relying on a lot of young pieces. They lose Will Fries and Ryan Kelly in the interior. The defense really wasn't great last year, kind of all over the place. And I don't think they really did anything to get that much better. Like, they addressed the secondary, but they lose some of the pass rush. The pass rush was kind of okay last year. And despite the division not being great, they're part of the reason why. Schedule also not ideal for the Colts. I think this is going to be a beat up. And, maybe conspiracy theories over here. They're tanking, hoping that Arch Manning enters the draft. I got the Colts going a dismal 3-14 and possibly having the first overall pick in the NFL draft. Shane Steichen, it just hasn't worked out with him as a coordinator coming over from Philadelphia. I just don't see it. It was the Anthony Richardson experiment. Horrible draft pick. Horrible disaster. Colts never going to recover. But hey, being this bad means you could potentially get good once again. Okay, the Houston Texans, 10-7 last year, win the division title and a wild card game against the Chargers, and played a pretty close game against eventual AFC champion Kansas City. So pretty good finish to a year that was really up and down, the sophomore regression for CJ Stroud, but that happens. They do replace the offensive coordinator position, and they try and attack this abysmal offensive line. This was probably the worst offensive line in football last year. They signed Cam Robinson. They signed Laken Tomlinson. They get Ed Ingram from the Vikings. Now, Ed Ingram ain't that good, but it's something out there. They also bring in CJ Gardner-Johnson to the team. Christian Kirk, Sheldon Rankins. They draft Jaden Higgins. They did lose Stephon Diggs and Laramie Tunsil. This is kind of a mishmash all over the place. Joe Mixon's like probably out for the first 4 weeks of the season. He's probably going to start the year on the PUP. So this Texas team is kind of all over the place injury-wise. Not the best, but I do love D'Amico Ryans. The number one thing they're going to be able to lean on, though, is this defense. This defense is going to be one of the best defenses in football. They're able to rush the passer, very good in the secondary, just great overall at every single level, it feels like. And again, this division is not very good. They are playing a first-place schedule, but they played a first-place schedule last year and managed to go 10-7 with that. So overall, I do think the Texans are going to be pretty good this year. Once again, I think CJ Stroud's going to be kind of opened up in this offense with new approaches here, some more creativity at the play calling spots. And you know what? The running game, it'll probably come along here. Give me the Texans with a great defense, a better year from CJ Stroud. I am okay with the wide receiver position. Like Nico Collins, that guy is way too slept on. Nico Collins is one of the 5 best wide receivers in the league. I think he could finish the season being one of the 3 best wide receivers in the league. So give me the Houston Texans going 11-6. Good enough to make the playoffs, but is it good enough to win that division title for a 3rd straight year? All right, now the Jacksonville Jaguars 4-13 last year. They fire Doug Peterson. In steps Liam Cohen to fix this football team. They do add some pieces along the offensive line. They kind of are retooling everything. They add some more defensive line depth. This defense is going to be very, very good, I think. And ultimately, they spent a lot of draft capital to bring in the two-way star, Travis Hunter, playing offense, playing defense. But he's already picked up some injuries in training camp. Is he going to be able to sustain this kind of grindy, whatever, like the grind of playing both ways? Is he going to be able to do it? Is he going to be able to keep up in meetings? It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a tall task. But I do think Liam Cohen adds some really good dynamics plays to this offense. This is make it or break it time for Trevor Lawrence. Like, this is it. We're going to find out 100% right here. If Trevor Lawrence is bad again this year, his time in the NFL is done. I think Trevor Lawrence should cut the hair. Maybe he'll get some more magical powers because he's been kind of bad to inconsistent most of his time in the NFL. Does lose his tight end, does lose his wide receiver in Christian Kirk, but both those guys were out of the lineup, in and out of the lineup last year. This running game, I do love the add of Bashaw Tutin in the draft. 3-headed backfield. We still have ETN, and Tank Bigsby could be a guy. We saw a massive jump for Bucky Irving as a rookie last year under Liam Cohen. Could Tank Bigsby, a similar type running style, have a breakout year in this offense? Offensive line still not great, kind of mediocre to average, if not bad at points in time. But this really is all going to fall on Trevor Lawrence and the offense. Defense is going to be good. Again, the schedule, not terrible. Pretty weak overall division that they are playing a 3rd place schedule out there. So it'll be tough to tell. Make it or break it time for T-Law. I do think, as corny as Liam Cohen is, he's a very good play caller. It's going to be a very similar situation to Ben Johnson. Can a great play caller live up to being the head coach and all the extra responsibilities that come with it? I do have the Jaguars having a better season and a big, big jump. I got them going 10-7, not quite enough to win this division. So the Texans are the division winners for the 3rd straight year, but 10-7, probably not going to get them in the playoffs in the AFC. I got them losing out on the tiebreakers, but I just really think the Jaguars are being slept on. I think this is going to be a total turnaround. I do have some belief left still. I don't know why with Trevor Lawrence. I think it's going to be just good enough. I mean, barely good enough to get them to win these close games, not be a disaster late in games, because this team was just absolutely terrible in late and close games. They lost a million stupid games last year. We're going to cut down on the turnovers. We're going to cut down on the hospital balls. We still have Brian Thomas Jr., one of the elite and emerging wide receivers. And I think if we get Travis Hunter on one side of the ball, it's going to be wide receiver. That's his better position. So you got some good pieces to play with there. Overall, Jaguars, much improved, but probably ultimately fall short of the playoffs, and it's going to leave Jag fans feeling shitty, but some positive aspects moving forward, kind of similar to what we saw a few years ago. 10-7 for the Jaguars, so let's recap it here. Houston Texans winning the division at 11-6. Jaguars 10-7, ultimately missing the playoffs over there. The Tennessee Titans 6-11, and bringing up the basement in one of the worst teams in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts at 3-14. So if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We have the NFC South tomorrow as we barrel towards the start of this NFL season, breaking down a division every single day. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.